Good afternoon. I call to order the GCC regular board meeting. 1/17/23, a little after 4:45 p.m. Roll call. Mark Anderson. Absent today. Harry Block.
Here.
Bruce Mandrick.
Present.
Jack Turner.
Present.
And Lily Campbell present. All 4 board members present, 1 absent. That's Billings. Welcome, everyone. Glad to see you. I need a motion for the 361 board resolution, which is what we have been doing since we've been virtual, but it's to make sure that if we have to do it, we will be able to do it again if we need to go virtual. So I will entertain motion for SB 361 board resolution. Yes.
Approval.
Move approval.
I'll second.
Second. Any more discussion on that item? All in favor? Aye. Ayes have it. Okay. So with that, I want to tell the board members that we are going to have a change in the agenda. After the superintendent's update, we will move to the independent audit report so that our guests will be able to leave or stay if he wishes to stay, but we will give them the opportunity. So we will be moving that item up from item 8 business to right after the superintendent's update. Okay. Any discussion? Hearing that, we're going to continue. Public comments. Do we have public comments today?
No, there's no public comment.
No public comments. Thank you. And again, welcome everyone. So glad to see all of the wonderful faces. Welcome to a new year, and I hope you got some rest and that you had an opportunity to spend with family some good time. So welcome. And those who are with us virtually, thank you for being with us, and we are so glad that you're with us. And so with that, we shall continue with our board agenda to the superintendent's update.
Thank you, ma'am. So really want to reiterate what you've said. Happy New Year. Welcome to 2023. Many of us are ready to put 2022 behind us for a number of reasons. But we did close out the calendar year with a lot of great celebrations, a lot of good recognitions of our students, our staff, and really want to appreciate all of our administrators who made those final weeks so special. Want to acknowledge that the last, 10 days, 12 days of atmospheric, whatever they were, has not been pleasant. We came back to a lot of water, flooded parking lots, some water damage. We're going to hear some more about those later today in a study session item, but want the board to know we are surviving that experience. So also we are in the calendar time of the governor's budget release, which happens in January and May. Okay, January budget has come out, and a number of us in the room will be attending the school services budget workshop tomorrow at the convention center. So Jason, myself, Elmira, Valerie, I'm sure there are others in the room who are attending as well. We are going to be well educated on the January's governor's budget. So we also will be going to other entities because we like to hear multiple voices about their thoughts around the impacts of the January governor's budget for next year. So some of us will be going to the CSDC workshop, Capital Advisor, and the CCSA budget workshops as well. So no doubt we will be well informed. Also, we want to caution everybody, the news that is out so far for the January budget is somewhat positive in nature, A lot of uncertainty right now, but the January budget is never the May revise and is never the adopted budget. So what we have right now is a proposal, okay? And there will be a lot done between now and then. And in recent years, it's not even January, May, and budget adoption, it's trailer bill language, which comes after that. So please know that there's a lot still that's uncertain in our world budgetarily. We are very excited to once again be having a mid-year graduation. Sava will be holding a winter graduation on January 25th. As I understand it, Miss Lily and Mark Anderson will be representing the board, and Jason will be representing the superintendent's office for that. Jason, do you have numbers for that? How many graduates do we have?
So yeah, we have about 100 graduates.
About 100 graduates. So
That's great.
we're excited to be having a mid-year graduation once again. So take lots of pictures and video, right? I'm hearing that we're going to stream it so I can watch because I will be at a conference. So we have picked up the coffee with the superintendent and changed it into coffee with the superintendents. Jason and I are kicking those off together. It's been a nice way to do that. We started this morning at Gateway International School. Really want to affirm Miss Steve and Miss Stephanie, who gave us a great welcome. And we had a good time interacting with staff there this morning. So it's a nice way for us to be a little closer and not necessarily at a podium when we're speaking to people. So all of the rest of the sites will occur, feels like in the next few days, but it's really across a couple of weeks. And so we should have all of the coffee with the superintendents done by the first week of February, I believe. I continue to be representing the GCC with AXA and the AXA Superintendent's Councils, where we have had a whole lot of discussions about the governor's budget and politics around the governor's budget and the adoption. But we'll say the biggest thing that's talked about right now, and it's not much of a surprise, is the governor omitted the art and music block grant that was in the state budget. Because of course, when we voted on the initiatives, we got an art and music. So it's a bit of a double dip, but that's one of AXA's big bargainings that they want to go after, is to try to get that grant back. I'm also representing our region on the AXA Leadership Development Committee, which has a number of functions, but is assisting the AXA State Board in a number of its duties. Other things that are happening. The week before we came back on calendar, I was interviewed by Comstock Magazine. They have a March edition around with the leaders of the region, and I was interviewed for that. It'll be interesting about what part of the 40 minutes we talked will show up in the very brief part of Comstock Magazine, but we will share that with you when it comes out. Also, teacher leaders, GCC teacher leaders met this last Friday for I think their third meeting. This is the third cohort that had their third meeting. And we spent almost the entire time with them sharing their passion projects they're working on. And it was really inspiring to see what they're passionate about and what they're putting in place. So we're excited to see how that'll affect our students. Also, Jason and I have been working with Ms. O'Mara and her the services team on the assumptions for the second interim budget. Also, Jason and O'Mara and others held budget meetings with each school site in preparation for that. We've certainly been doing some conjecturing about what's the best enrollment and ADA projections to use for that, and the impact of one-time funds on our multi-year projections. So we're being very thoughtful and moving towards our outcomes for our second interim. Miss Melissa is assisting me in creating our next cohort of crucial conversations. And we're still going to argue over what number it is, but it's out there somewhere, right, Miss Melissa? Don't say it out loud. Don't say it out loud. And then this last weekend, I was able to represent GCC as an adjunct professor with University of Massachusetts Global and gave a number of presentations in that setting as well. Want to address, for the board's sake, our continued bridging, transitioning, succession planning. It's certainly well in place, as you might imagine. As I was teasing Miss Lily, it's her and our job to keep Jason in line, and if we keep him between us, we might get him there. So, but in all honesty, Jason and I are spending some good quality time developing ongoing plans, reviewing our mission, our vision, our priorities, our action plans, our needs, and what's needed to move forward in a quality way. And with that, I would like to welcome Deputy Superintendent Sample to the dais and to share a few updates as well.
All right, thank you, Dr. Peterson. So board, just to kind of continue with a few other updates. On yesterday, GCC staff was privileged as well as Director Block to participate in the North Sacramento and Del Paso Heights MLK March yesterday. And so this year we really looked at some ways to celebrate and commemorate Dr. King's birthday and dream as we included our staff and students. So I would like to share with you just a very brief video that we created based on Dr. King's I Have a Dream speech. So if you'll look at the screen and enjoy the video. Thank you and welcome to Gateway Community Charters. This week and today, we are celebrating Dr. Martin Luther King's dream, his legacy, and not only his birthday. In Gateway Community Charters, we are an organization that believes in not only living the dream, but we're building the dream. How do we build the dream? Through bringing options and opportunities to our students and to our families. So today, as we have taken this moment to celebrate Dr. King's birthday, we take this week to live his legacy, to be his legacy, not only through what we're doing and what we're saying, but through our deeds and our actions. So we invite you today to join us as we relive and remember one of Dr. King's most prolific speeches, his I Have a Dream speech. I'm so excited. You're going to get ready to see the faces and the voices of Gateway Community Charters as we build the dream.
I still have a dream. It's a dream deeply rooted in the American dream.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold this truth to be self-evident that all men are created equal.
I have a dream that one day, out of the red hills of Georgia, that the sons of former slaves and the sons of some former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood.
I have a dream that one day even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering in the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice.
I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they are not judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
I have a dream that one day down in Alabama, with its vicious racists, with its governor having his lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification, that one day, right down in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers.
I have a dream that one day every valley shall be engulfed, every hill shall be exalted, and every mountain shall be made low. The rough places will be made plains, and the crooked places will be made straight. And the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together.
هذا هو الإيمان الذي سأعود به إلى الجنوب، الإيمان الذي سيمكننا من تبديل جبل اليأس إلى أحجار صغيرة من الأمل.
With this faith, we will be able to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood.
Con esta fe podremos trabajar juntos, orar juntos, luchar juntos, ir a la cárcel juntos, avanzar juntos por la libertad, sabiendo que un día seremos libres.
This will be the day when all of God's children will be able to sing with new meaning. My country 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride, from every mountainside, let freedom ring.
And if America is to be a great nation, this must become true. So let freedom ring from the hilltops of New Hampshire, let freedom ring from the mighty mountains of New York.
Let freedom ring from the hiding Alleghenies of Pennsylvania.
Let freedom ring from the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado.
Freedom ring from the curvaceous slopes of California. But not only that, let freedom ring from Stone Mountain of Georgia.
Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi and every mountainside.
And when we let freedom ring, every tenant in every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old spiritual, free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we're free at last.
I want to affirm our community engagement team, Aisha, for working to put that piece together. Again, capturing the faces and the voices of GCC on this very special day. Some other updates I'd like to share with the board is January the 26th at 5 p.m. we'll be having our annual Parent Summit, which will be held at Rancho Del Paso. We're excited. This year will be our first year back in person after virtual for the last few years. So again, looking forward to inviting our parents back for this wonderful and exciting event. And then finally, I just want to share with the board that the WASC Commission, or WASC itself, published a book called Connecting the Dots of Accreditation, Leadership, Coherence, and Continuous Improvement. And I was honored to be interviewed and quoted in the book as a commissioner, talking about the work that WASC is doing around equity as well as charter schools. So that was a wonderful opportunity to kind of share our voice, not only here, but globally through the WASC Commission. And with that said, that is our report.
Well, thank you very much, board members. Any comments, any questions, comments? Anything? Well, you both have been very busy, and if you will pass the book around, if you mark where you are in there, so that the board members can see it. And I appreciate the film on Dr. Martin Luther King. We did something similar to that in our community, and it was called Action Day. So we had activities that geared around his thoughts and helping our community, which was very, very inspirational. So thank you for your hard work. Thank you for everything you're doing and all of the work. And yes,
I was gonna say, took me back to Mississippi when I was a kid, when they were recruiting us to go out and march as a young kid, and how we had to, even the churches behind the secret and all this and that. But Dr. Bevins from Martin Luther King's team down there recruiting us. And I couldn't go out there because I was going to be too loud. I didn't march out there, but I've been marching lately. I'm quiet down.
I was just gonna say, you've calmed down a little bit, right? You're still an activist, you're just a calmer activist. All right.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And now we shall move on, and we will now go to business, the 2021-22 Independent Audit Report. Thank you, Mr. Meyer, for introducing us.
Good evening, Board President Campbell and trustees. I'm here and introducing from Gilbert and Associates, Raul Hernandez, our audit manager.
Hello, thank you for having me. Like Omar introduced me, I'm Raul. Sarah Ellis is a shareholder on the engagement, but she couldn't make it out here to be here tonight. So you should, first of all, I wanted to give all credit to Omar and the finance team, Valerie, Lily, and Yvonne, everyone that helped us get the audit done and submitted in time to the CD and State Controller's office. So you should have two reports in front of you. The first one I'm going to go over is the communications with those chartered of governments, which are required communications to the board and management. And then if at any point you have any questions or any comments, please feel free to stop. So on the first page, our audit's broken up into three main pieces: the financial audit, the state compliance audit, and the federal compliance audit. On all three areas, there was an unmodified opinion, which is a clean opinion. There was one small instance of non-compliance in the state compliance area, which we'll go over as we're going through the report. But overall, like I said, all credit goes to the finance team. The CDE, state controllers, they don't take it easy on us as passing trailer bills near the end of the year. They're very proactive in reaching out for any questions, getting everything figured out prior to the audit. As far as any changes in accounting policies, there was none during the 2022 year. Management's judgments and estimates that we disclose the three most significant estimates, which are accounts receivable, property and equipment and their useful lives, and the allocation of functional expenses. We take a look at all of these and ensure that they're in accordance with generally accepted standards. As far as the plan scope and timing of the audit's broken up into two pieces. We come out during interim, which is typically during May, and then we come out at year end once everything's been closed in October. We perform the audit according to the plan scope and timing previously communicated, and all reports are able to be submitted in accordance with applicable deadlines. We are required to disclose any management consultations with other independent auditors. This would be like shopping for different opinions, which in this case, to our knowledge, there are no such consultations. We're also required to disclose any disagreements with management, which we did not have any. We did request certain representations from management that are included in the letter to us. And then we encountered no difficulties in dealing with management. They're very cooperative, ready for us, both during the interim and the year-end periods. For other findings and audits, we can touch on that a little bit more as we go through our audit letters, as we go through the report. But like I said, unmodified with one instance of non-compliance for state compliance. So the next section, significant risks identified by the auditor. This is new. It's nothing new that we need to do in order to perform the audit, but this is just us being required to communicate the significant risks. In this case, improper revenue recognition, and management overrider controls are always two risks identified in an audit. So we've always had procedures built in our audit in order to address these, but now we're just required to disclose them in this communication. So nothing has changed, just we're required to include it in our communications. No significant adjustments were identified and no uncorrected misstatements. So this is specific to the financial piece of it. And then the supplementary information goes in detail a little bit as to, if you look at the table of contents, there are certain required schedules and other information that we need to include, which we do certain procedures over, but not necessarily issue an opinion. Okay, so moving on to the independent auditor's report. Any questions on the required communications? Good. So, like I said, it's broken up into three main pieces: financial, state compliance, and federal. We do have 4 auditor letters, the fourth one being our report in accordance with government auditing standards, where we're required to look at controls and compliance related to government auditing standards. So the first one, in the independent auditor's report, there was a change in the appearance of this as well. Historically, the opinion had been the last paragraph in the opinion letter, but in order to make it a little bit more clear this year, audit standards require us to disclose it now in the first paragraph. So, like I said, unmodified, and then there was additional disclosure included in our responsibilities for management and our auditor responsibilities. Everything listed is nothing new, it's just additional required disclosure where we have to disclose to the reader everything that's built into our audit. So nothing for the financial statements. Moving on. I wasn't planning on going in detail over the financial statements, but if you have any questions, please feel free. I was more so just going to go over the big picture opinions. I think the only thing this year that was a little bit unusual was a transfer between assets between sites that didn't occur at the time of the new SAVA's opening, which is disclosed and presented in the financial statement separately. So the notes to the financial statements, there has really been no changes here. Just going through them. Unless there's any specific footnote that you would like me to go over, I was more so planning on jumping to the other auditor letters. So like I said, on page 18, we do include a footnote for that transfer between sites. There's a lot of pages in this report.
So can I say, so on 18, you're referencing note 15, correct?
Yes.
Yes,
All right.
yes, I think that's really the only new footnote, which
Okay.
Mhm.
we'll look at, make sure that the enrollment numbers and everything going into the calculation appeared appropriate. And then when being compared to like last year's audit report, one thing you'll notice if you compare them, there's a lot of schedules, including the supplementary information that were not included last year due to them being taken out of the K-12 audit guide as a response to COVID-19. A lot of those procedures and schedules came back this year, so that none of these are new. They've just been maybe not included in the past year. And then so now on page 37. And this is our government auditing standards auditor letter, just saying in accordance with government auditing standards, what we're required to do. Which requires to look at compliance and internal control. And then the following auditor letter is our state compliance reporting. This is the one I really wanted to touch on. Like I said, this is where that one instance of non-compliance came up. If you look at page 39, we list out all the compliance requirements applicable based off the K-12 audit guide of the Education Appeals Panel. They have, the past year, they added about 5 new compliance requirements, which I think the Gateway team and I think Dr. Gold worked closely on getting any sort of prior non-compliance issues sorted out. I think this year, the one instance that we did know related to immunizations was new and was, I think, they bring it back every couple of years, but I think the last time that had been included in the K-12 audit guide was like 6 years ago. So probably new to the majority of people looking at it. But educator effectiveness, expanded learning opportunity grant, career technical education incentive grant, in-person instruction, all of those are new this year, and there were changes to non-classroom based, which I think just due to the prior experience with non-classroom based, there was no issues there. And then the following auditor letter is our uniform guidance, where we go over the CEPA and their opinion over the major programs, in which case, that is shown in page 44. I think this is probably the page that everyone's most concerned with, where everything's detailed nicely. And on page 44, you'll see we have our type of auditors issue report for financial statements, state awards, and federal. It was unmodified for all 3, but there was one audit finding in accordance with the K-12 audit guide. And then at the very bottom, we show which specific major program we looked at this year, which was the Education Stabilization Fund, which has been identified by the OMB to be high risk, so we're required to look at it. And with that comes a little bit more scrutiny, so we definitely hit that one pretty hard. And then on the following page, page 45, we detail immunizations, which, like I said, was new to the K-12 audit guide. We select all our sampling is determined based off the guide. We select a certain number of students, ensure that they're in compliance with their immunization requirements. We just noted 2 students, but because of the changes by AB 181 to LCFF funding, ultimately we've seen across the board a loss in the EDA a lot of times actually results in more funding. So we do disclose that as well in the question costs, where any sort of question cost would really be minimal, but there is no materiality for any sort of compliance findings. We find one signature missing on one independent study agreement, we're required to disclose. And then in response to this immunization finding, it seemed like management was on top of it. They got a plan going as soon as we communicated, or as soon as we had any questions going, it seemed like they had everything in plan to hopefully correct it going forward. We do have a status of prior year audit findings on the last page. And we don't see anything here, but like I said, in last year's K-12 audit guide, there were certain compliance requirements that had went away, like ACEs, since there was no in-person instruction. So historically, there have been some additional issues noted in ACEs. This year, there was no issues. Yeah, so I think, any questions on anything there?
Well, first of all, I just have to say,
The words "no issues" on ACEs should be celebrated more than those three
Yes.
words. Because historically, that has been a bit of a
Yeah.
monster for us.
And I think I met with Dr. Cindy Peterson and Mark Anderson. I think that we met pretty early on. And at first we were working through some of the changes and some of the, it seemed like the process had to change a little bit, but we were able to work through all that. And so I think you really got a process in place to sort all of that out.
I definitely would give Ed Services team all the glory on ACEs.
On ACEs, all the glory.
It's been fun. Oh, I bet it was fun. I just want to also reiterate what you said, Raul, and that is what you did find with immunizations was non-material.
Right, yeah. But like I said, there's no real leeway there. If we find anything compliance related, we're required to include it in our auditor's report. Any questions, comments?
Anything? Anyone? No? No? No comments?
It's a good boring document.
Good boring.
I would definitely say it was not boring for the finance team.
I know it's a lot of work for the auditors, but I also know for our business office, it's time consuming. I want to thank them for their work. And the findings are beyond very minimal. So I just want to say congratulations.
Thank you. I mean, it was a very intense summit, I think, even for Gilbert and Associates.
Yeah. I think with the
A
trailer.
lot of
Yeah.
a lot of compliance this year with a lot of different funding streams that have come in.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of strings attached, so.
Yeah, and with the 9 different sites, it's really keeping 9 different sets of books, so it's quite a lot for us to get through, quite a lot for the business team.
I'm sure with all of the new monies that came in and one-time funding and all of that, really made a difference.
Yeah, so that's all related to the, if you get new funding, you're typically gonna see next year, there's gonna be a new compliance requirement for us to look at for state funding. Same thing's gonna happen the next year where they're already looking at 2 or 3 being added, so it's always keeping the finance team on their toes.
So we thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're very proud of the work that the people in this organization do. So,
And we also appreciate your partnership, and if you could take that back as soon as.
Yeah. Thank you.
So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I think you guys have acknowledged our team, but it goes down from our business techs pulling data to other departments and services sites. So it's a group effort and
And a
I
lot
just
of
want to
work.
thank our administrators and business services for really keeping this tight and giving it that. Thank you.
Thank you, and you, if you would like to stay, we'd be glad to have you, but you are free to go whenever you wish.
Right, thank you.
Thank you for being here. We appreciate it. Right, anything else? Nothing more for this item? Then we will go back to our regular agenda. And we are now at our study section. Here where we are. First one is newly arrived families refugee update. Is that you? Deputy Superintendent?
I think that we're calling for a point of order. Does the board need to vote to accept the audit?
Oh, yes, you're right. I'm sorry. Thank you. And that's roll call. May I have a motion to accept the audit?
I'm going to do the audit.
Okay, second. Okay, and I will do a roll call. Mr. Block,
Yes.
Bruce Mandrick,
Yes.
Jack Turner,
Yes.
Lily Campbell, yes. Thank you, and thank you for reminding me that that needed to take place. All right, and so with that, now we will move into our study session, newly arrived families.
Mr. Sample is ready to update the board in relation to this item. We're talking about our newly arrived families and our refugee families. Mr. Sample?
All right, thank you, Dr. Peterson, Madam President, members of the board. So tonight, just want to kind of give the board a bit of an update on our newly arrived families and refugee. As you see, the term that is the more acceptable used term is newly arrived families. And so we have kind of begin to move towards utilizing that term. So some of the areas that I kind of want to start off with before I show you some of our numbers currently is what we're doing for our families, how we're working with them. We have been working very closely, and I want to affirm dedication and work of our Director of School, Parent, and Governmental Relations, Mr. Sergey Terekov, who's really been leading this work. But we've been working closely with Sacramento County Department of Human Assistance, as well as Sacramento Food Bank and the Slavic Assistance Center to look at some of those immediate needs that our families are experiencing as they arrive. Been working very closely in collaboration with our local churches and resettlement agencies, really to say that we are a school enrollment option and educational resource, as well as looking at health-related needs and referring to Elica Health. So not only have we done clinics for school immunizations, but we're also doing COVID clinics and others. And then finally, COA has been very active in doing tours for Ukrainian children whose families were killed in the war and bringing them in. You may have seen recently, we had in the Sacramento Bee's Book of Dreams, a highlight of them wanting to answer one of our dreams of bringing snow and a holiday time to our families later on this year. And so we'll look forward to it. And then finally, at our Parent Summit, we do have some dedicated time for our families around employment, legal assistance, healthcare, and other community resources. So if you remember back sometime in our fall board retreat, Dr. Peterson shared some numbers with you. I wanted to update you in terms of where we are as of this school year. We have, in terms of newly arrived families, 438 students that have came into our schools and programs in different places. Not all of those students are Ukrainian immigrants. So let me show that to you here. But you'll see it again, a widespread from Afghanistan, Belarus, Canada, Denmark. But the largest number is our Ukrainian families, with about 296 students of the 438. One of the things Sergey and I talked about earlier today is really answering the question of, are these families with us just for a small period of time, or will they decide to go back at some point once the conflict is over to Ukraine? And right now, about 80 to 85% of those families are looking to stay in the U.S. and are working actively through the immigration process. So it's safe to say that a significant number of these families will remain within the U.S. As we continue to provide services. Just to kind of give you a breakdown of where our families, our newly arrived families, are kind of spread out. Quite honestly, they're all over the GCC. This right here is since the beginning of the conflict that started last year in January. Again, kind of tracking and looking at those numbers since the beginning of that time. And again, I draw your attention to the fact that 402 of our students have came from Ukraine, and 155. Wow. Don't tell my eye doctor, I may need to get checked again. 155 have come from the Russian Federation. So again, working very hard. Currently, as of today, Community Outreach Academy has about 242 students that are sitting on their wait list. And so we're looking at ways, and we'll share a little bit when we get to facilities, of how we can have options and opportunities to serve those students and bring them off a wait list and to begin to look at ways for them to be served. That being said, are there any questions about our newly arrived families that myself or we also have Sergey here who can answer?
Just one for myself, one question. We saw a big influx. Is it continuing at the same pace?
So I'm gonna let Sergey kind of answer that, because he's been kind of tracking that, and it has been continuing. So
yes, well, yes and no, Dr. Peterson. So it reduced significantly since spring of last year, just because that pathway through Mexico, US border is no longer an option, or like it's narrowing, but those options are narrowing. However, the other program, like it's U for U, United for Ukraine, so opening up. I mean, it's been open up for a while, but there's more effort on the federal government part and the resettlement agencies to find those sponsoring families. So there's going to be definitely more writing. So additionally, U.S. government have a conversation right now about allowing asylum people to file for asylum in the third countries. For example, if someone left Ukraine but they're currently in Germany and they want to apply for asylum in the United States, that option would be available. So we anticipate that this number is going to increase.
Thank you so much.
Notice the second largest number were from Russian Federation. Is that war-related immigrants, or even though they're from the?
So yes, and again, sorry to join me, but yes, we are receiving families from both Ukraine and Russia that are war related.
So it's a wonderful question. That's 155. Majority of them came as asylum seekers, which means they're political asylees. It is war related directly or indirectly. So typically those are families that are not in agreement with Russian government and they're afraid to stay or to go back.
Yes.
Thank you for the information. Very, very timely. And two questions. Do you think, and I know you have no way of knowing the surrounding school districts, but do you think we have enrolled the largest number of student refugees compared to any of the other school districts? And secondly, do you think you have adequate resources for particularly ESL programs for these students? Because I know that's a key to their success when they are trying to integrate into the mainstream educational program here in the United States.
So I'll take that and then sorry, I can kind of add. I will say in terms of our enrollment compared to our surrounding schools and districts, I would say anecdotally that we have significantly a higher number of students that we are serving. And again, I think it's because we have done a good job through the years of serving the population and the community. And so they trust us, and it's a huge word of mouth. And as Sergey shared, a number of our families are being sponsored by other families that are already here. And so having that ability to say, well, this is where my kid goes to school has been very helpful. In terms of the resources, I will say that we continue to look at ways that we can best serve our immigrant, newly arrived families and refugee population. And so, Jack, just to answer your question, I think it's a continual work that we're looking to ensure that, what more can we do? How better can we serve? And I will affirm our staff, they've done a great job of doing that work up to now. And I would say very well resourced. In terms of our work, as Sergey shared with the community, that's where we're bringing in those other resources, such as, the healthcare and the legal services and the employment, so that we're doing our thing, but we're also partnering with the community.
Thank you.
Okay. That's it. Thank you very much for that report. We appreciate it. And now, are you staying for item 2?
I'm going to go ahead and stay.
Facilities update. We shall let you do that.
All right.
All right.
So want to update the board on a few facility items. I'm going to ask Executive Director of Ed Programs, Maury Elliott, to join with me up here. And we're going to kind of volley back and forth on a few of these. Sure, stand on up here. I can scoot over. You can stand. You can. Maury and I are used to this. We did this for 3 software renewals. So we're really used to standing side by side at the podium. All right. So the first item I kind of want to share and update the board on, as you know, recently we have experienced atmospheric rain, I believe is what they called it, in storms. And so we want to share with the board just how we fared in the weather and how our sites did. I want to affirm our facilities team, our coordinator of facilities, Mr. Jerry Little, Carl Day, and John DeMarco for really their all hands on deck, very attentive work to support our sites as well as our school custodians, who all worked very hard even through the break to ensure that when our students returned back, that we were ready to go as best as we could. So at CCCS K8, you may be familiar with this. This is the Campus Verde site.
We experienced some roof leaking, as well as you can imagine rain, towels being dropped and leaks that happened. And we worked very closely with Twin Rivers to get roofers out. Also, we ourselves worked to get roofers out to look at what can be done to take care of those issues. Saba Powrid had, you can see a tree there that went down, as well as some rain and water. You know, one of the things about this particular rain is the direction in which it came. Sometimes it was this way. It wasn't just a straight up and down rain. So there was a lot of leakage of water that came under doors and sides of walls. Continue at Saba Powrin, you can see some ceiling tiles and things that were impacted by the water. Same thing at Epic. Again, with each of these, we worked with our leaseholders to deal with the situation and problem. And Maury can share more about the Power In one here in a few minutes. At Community Outreach Elementary, we had a fairly large tree to fall down. I will say it fell, if there's a right way, it fell the right way. And that it fell more into the field and very minimal damage other than losing a very large historic tree. Quite sure it was there when General McClellan was here. And so overall, we really felt that while there was a lot of atmospheric rains, our facilities did hold up well. Rancho Del Paso, you don't see pictures up there. While they had some minor leakage in various places, overall they held well. There was no overflow of Lake Rancho in the back, and that the detention pool did its job and did it well. And we're not fishing for anything. So I really am, again, proud of the work of our administrators, of our facility staff for really being attentive to deal with this hopefully once in 100-year storm. So now we want to just kind of update you a little bit on the California Fit, our California Family Fitness site update. Later on in the agenda, we do have the lease agreement for that. And so I'm going to turn over to Mr. Elliott.
Thank you. And one thing I'll mention about COA Elementary specifically, and that big tree that fell over, in the fall, we began working with the Sacramento Tree Foundation. We've had an arborist out multiple times, and we're going to be receiving a number of free trees from the Tree Foundation to beautify that campus and now replace some of the trees that fell during the storm. So we are excited to have that work done throughout next semester. All right, CalFit. Wanted to share some pictures. This is what it looked like when it was a CalFit gym, but wanted to give the board an idea of what we're looking at. It doesn't look quite as pretty right now because it's been sitting closed since COVID. It's just full transparency, but we're going to make it every bit as beautiful. And it's going to be a fabulous campus that will serve somewhere between 200 and 250 elementary students for COA Elementary School. On the inside, it was built out as a basic gym, many different rooms with weights, free weights, yoga rooms, etc. You can see some outdoor tennis courts that we'll be able to utilize. They'll be resurfaced as part of the project, but we'll have a great outdoor space in addition to the indoor space for all of our students at that site. It has a fabulous multi-purpose room. We will use this gymnasium as the cafeteria to serve lunch. We'll use it for PE classroom space. We'll use it for GCC sporting events for our elementary, middle school, and high school teams. So we will have this place busy and packed all of the time. And I know the COA team is excited for that piece of the facility. And that was it. Just a few pictures of CalFit. That plan is going to be in front of you tonight for the sublease, and we are ready to roll. We have got a plan in place. We got a design in place. It's going to house 8 classrooms plus some smaller conference rooms for pull-out instruction with students. And I cannot wait for you guys to get to see the entire picture once we have that available.
And I just want to have a disclaimer. Not only was the outside picture from long ago, the inside pictures are from long ago.
But it won't take much to get it back there.
I just want to be
All we
clear.
gotta do is turn the lights on dust.
I just like to have.
My expectation is every bit as pretty as those pictures.
Okay, without all that equipment.
No, none of that equipment. That equipment's gone. It is empty. We walked it with them last week. They took all their items out. And they are ready with the board's approval for us to move forward with the project.
Yes.
I went over and looked at the facility and I was saying photoshopping is really, really good. But I have no doubt you will.
I'm just trying to set expectations for what we're gonna build as our thing.
Because I have lived through the bowling alley. So I understand what
Bowling alley. Yes.
All right, moving on, power and road update. I know we've been talking about this for 2 years. Unfortunately, I can't tell you we're in yet, but we're gonna be in within 2 weeks. This rain over the last 2 weeks slowed us down. We had one final piece of the project, which was pouring asphalt in the parking lot area and restriping it for parking. That is the one missing piece before we can have our occupancy permit. The inside is done, it is ready to go. We've got signs up on the outside, which is pictured on my right here on this shot. The lights in the kitchen are now up. And if you go to this next slide, you can see a classroom on the left-hand side that teachers have been in there. They've allowed staff in the building to set up their space. They just won't allow students in yet. And then on the right, you can see our brand new kitchen that our 2 chefs are very excited to get to start working in this semester. So with that, any questions, thoughts, comments on Power End? We're ready to rock and roll. We'll get you guys out there soon.
Unlike CalFit, those are real pictures.
Those are real pictures. That's us. That is us. All right, and then one more exciting piece we're working on right behind this wall. This is what it looks like. These are also real pictures as of this afternoon. The demo is complete. We should have a full construction schedule sometime this week, or I've been promised by the end of next week. So we'll be able to get into this building hopefully March, April-ish, if I'm being less, not pushing as hard. April is the safe date, but we're hoping for March, and we are excited to have enough space for all the current central office team and maybe even some new central office members as we continue to grow as an organization.
And then also our virtual academy,
That's right.
Our virtual academy will be housed in a significant portion here.
So we'll see a little different picture on the 7th when we come back next month.
Absolutely. We'll get work going. By the 7th, it won't be too different, but there will be some progress.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
We can update the board on the timeline.
Absolutely. We should have a full timeline for you by the 7th.
Okay.
And with that is our report. Are there any questions for Mario or myself?
No questions, no. I do want to acknowledge that as we continue to move functions around and grow people, that as you can tell, facilities has somewhat landed in Lori's wheelhouse. And I know Jason has been coaching him up in that area, but he's been taking on quite a bit of responsibility related to facilities. And really appreciate him taking that on.
He's the right person because he does facilities and expanding.
It's a lot of fun.
Yes, expanding. Thank you. Thank you very much, both of you. All right. So with that, board members, we are now ready to move into consent agenda items. If you have no other questions for the presenters. And for our guests, consent agenda items are adoption of GCC board meeting minutes 12/13/2022, personnel consent agenda, purchases over 30,000, disposal and surplus of items from CCCF, and declaration of need for fully qualified educators. Those are the items for consent agenda. So I will entertain a motion. Yes. Move approval. Mr. Jack. Second. All right. Any discussion? Any other discussion on any of the items? Hearing none, I will call for a vote. Mr. Blanc?
Yes.
Mr. Mandrick?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
And Lily Campbell, yes. So the consent agenda items have been approved as presented to us. And now we move into facilities. Sublease agreement, 5839 Dudley Boulevard, McClellan, California. And that's the item that we just heard about and saw. So that I will entertain a motion.
Move approval.
Move approval, Mr. Turner.
I'll second.
You second, all right, Mr. Mandrick. Now, any other discussion? Questions? Hearing none, seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Mr. Block,
Yes.
Mr. Mandrick,
Yes.
Mr. Turner,
Yes.
Billy Campbell, yes. And so that item has been approved unanimously. And with that, we are now moving to board comments before we go into closed session. Board comments? Yes, Mr. Block.
I visited HLA the other day. I had a great experience over there with a TK. I went into the TK class and I was looking around and the kids said, and then I sound parrot blocking when the teacher introduced me to the kid. So the little kid called me over and said, come on, we look at our social contract. And he read the social contract all the way down to the end. He said, do you agree with the social contract? I said, yes. He said, well, you got to sign right here. I signed my name. He said, now you can have a seat. I said, okay. It was great, you know, and I've been to some of the other classrooms too. It was a good little experience.
That's great.
I was glad to get back out.
Any other comments? You have something? Mr. Jack? No.
Oh, no, I'm just saying, I'm again, really impressed with the work that we're doing with the refugee students. And I know that that's going to be a major work project, I think, for the area for the foreseeable future. And I really appreciate our involvement and working and take that back to the community, that we are very, very supportive, and anything we can do that you think would help alleviate to a certain extent, you know, the trials that they're going through right now.
Thank you, will do.
One of that.
Yes.
Yesterday, I was glad to see GCC represented in the MLK March. It was all over there. It was a nice thing, even though I didn't march.
Yeah.
I made sure they all got out and marched. And that was the bottom line. So I did my job. And it was good. But that's almost a sample party. Did you go the whole route?
Went the whole route. Sergey and I went the whole route, and we didn't ride the bus. We walked the whole
And
thing.
We did
he's
not.
been complaining about sore muscles ever since. So you did a good thing there, so.
Okay, very good. And I shared with you some of the things that we did in our church in that same vein. I will be attending the graduation, looking forward to that. And on the Parents Summit, January the 26th, Rancho del Paso, what time?
At 5 p.m. And
5
we'll have
p.m.
flyers here
Okay.
at your space. after.
Door opens at 5, program starts at 5:30 with the dinner.
The dinner.
Yes.
Okay.
Make sure we know if you're planning to attend so we can take care of parking and other things to take. care of.
Okay. I will let you know for sure when I check my calendar. All right. And now, board, we will move into closed session. Student expulsion matter pursuant to Education Code Section 35146 and 48918, case numbers 2022-001 and 2022-002. So we shall report back after closed session. We are back from closed session. And I am to report that the board took action in closed session to expel students in cases 2022-01 and 2022-02. Thank you. And now we are about at the end of our business for today. I think I have to figure out when our next board meeting is going to be.
Next board meeting is going to be February 7th. At
February
4:47.
7th. All right. Board members, any other comments or closing comments? No, no. Well, I thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank all of you for staying with us and being attentive, and thank you for being with us tonight. And be safe out there. Be dry. Drive carefully on your way back home. Thank you so much. Board members, the same for you. Now, before we go, I will entertain a motion for adjournment. So, second. All in favor? Aye. Thank